All right, so good morning everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. And this is me speaking, Professor Rafi Rodrigo. This is my channel. So actually I created this channel because I wanted to share my experiences in data analytics and scholarships and also academic success, travel inspirations, which I traveled to 8 countries. And I also like fitness. I play a lot of badminton, so we can actually talk about also sports other than being in academic. But today I will try to have a short video tutorial on how to write your manuscript in just 7 days for Scopus Index publication. So I already had a tutorial on how to find your journal, how to find the right journal, and if it's whether it's indexed in is Scopus. So just wanted to let's uh let's dive in. So actually the idea of this how to write your manuscript in just 7 days is based on my ebook, Scientific Writing Simplified, practical guide to publisher. Because there's a lot of people ask me like, how do you able to publish in short time? So with my experiences, I also published in Elsevier. So basically, it will take 3 months to 4 months, depends on the data that you have, and it depends also on the reviewer. But then also, I have experience like at least a maximum of 2 months, depending on the journal. Again, it depends on the journal. So just to have a recap, so again, if you wanted to check whether your journal is under Scopus, so just log on to scopus.com sources, and then you can just type there like title, and then you can here, let's say you want to publish in this journal, for example. This is the journal that I've been publishing, Environment and Ecology Research, I think. Ecology Research. So let me just find that. I hope it's here. Environment and, it's not here. Oh, it's here. So this is journal that I've been publishing. It's under Scopus until 2026. So basically, I know already, like for example, this one. So what I do is I just type that. So basically, I have to check the Scopus indexing from 2019 to 2026. And then I will also search that here. And this is the journal. And basically what I do is I just look at their archive. And then once you have the archive, I check it, I check their published paper and just trying to familiarize like what are the things that I need to prepare for manuscript. So basically you already have a target journal and what you need to do is somehow pattern your manuscript on what is needed. So basically you can also read like the how to this submit manuscript and stuff, but usually I just click to the journal and then I look like, oh, okay, looks like simple, and then you have the title, the abbreviations, and then abstract. Basically you have the keywords, so you have the introduction, and also you have results, preliminary plastics. So you can actually just look at how they're writing their manuscript, and then you could just do that. So again, I have already a video about this, and if you wanted to know more about how to check other journal based Scopus, just log on to Scopus preview scopus.com. So with that, I know that already that I wanted to publish it here. I wanted to submit my paper in this journal. So basically I look at that, and then what you have to do is you have to now we will now the so called let's make it this happen. This is very ambitious manuscript in 7 days, which is, I would say, people would like, oh, are you sure about that? That can you make it happen? Well, definitely yes, but then again, this can be achieved in real time once you already have that data. So this tutorial is all about you have the data already, you have already published, you have like your proposal was accepted, was funded, and now you get the data. So what you need to do, like, because if you have a funding agency, basically they want to have some kind of output like publication. So basically you will kind of process your data to published to a certain journal that, it depends on the journal, not your target journal. So now here is the part that you can have, or you can write your manuscript in just 7 days. So again, this is my ebook, Scientific Writing Simplified, practical guide to publishing. So this is only 74 pages. It's a very handy, easy to read, easy to understand ebook. And I think for a researcher, like a beginner, I think this book is right for you. And also to those faculty students who wants to publish their manuscripts in scopus indexing. So with that, I want to show you how it's done. So basically, what I do is this is my timeline. So again, you have the data, you have the clean data, and you know already what's in your data. You know the story. You went there. Let's say you collected the data in the forest, and you know the story, like what kind of data you have. Let's say you were collecting the division, the height, and so on and so on. Or it depends with agriculture. Let's say in agriculture, um, let's say you already have the experimental data, and then you measure the 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 cow or whatever that is that you are working on. So basically, again, you have the data, and it's a clean data. And also, I also have a tutorial on how to produce your figures until tables and figures, tables, and so on and so on. So basically, what I do is because this is a tight timeline. Basically, I jump to the results, and then like a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, why you would it start from result?" The very typical writing is you need to write your introduction, your material methods, and results. But this case, your aim now is to extract the right information. So what we are doing now here is we wanted to have the paper published to get accepted. So because what we have right now is to be able to really get the information, the one that we wanted to tell to our readers. So again, why we do research? Because we wanted to get something, we wanted to understand something, there's a problem and we wanted to find a solution. So for that, you have the data and just kind of extracting the information from your data. So that's why first is you need to somehow visualize your data. So again, I have also another tutorial for that. So if you can see there, I have a lot of tutorial like how to do parametric test, regression, backplot, and also how do you call it? Uh, ANOVA, linear, and so on, so on. Descriptive study. So if you are still in that position, you can check all the other this videos so that you will somehow know how to produce your results, because that's exactly the first step that you will be doing the results. So basically is I would say start your manuscript results section because it's the most straightforward and objective of part of the paper. So begin by summarizing the key findings using descriptive statistics, tables, and figures. And then after that, just present them clearly, and then you are ready to write your results. So let's say, for example, you have here R. So again, this R, let's say, for example, you have data. Let's say, let me just run this. And here, data, okay. For example, I have the data, 60 observations and 7 variables. So basically it's from the data from animals, I think. Yeah. So treatment, sex, age, initial weight, final weight, feed intake, and animal ID. So basically this is your data. Now, just, these are my previous tutorial. You can also check that in my other videos. So let's say you wanted to produce some tables and figures. So with that, actually, you can weight gain. Okay, weight gain. So unfortunately, we don't have the weight gain. So we have to create a new data set. It's already 8. Let's just run it. So quick. So summary, look at that. So 2 observations here. 2 observation. Basically, you can just do like this. So yes, you just have to write this in your table, which again, this is another tutorial, but I just wanted to show it again. And you go to your working directory. So if you want to go there, if you just remember your code, summary table. So let's say summary table, and here is the summary table. Where is it? So I would just go for date modified, and here, there you go. Now you produce a table, and now you can just, copy it, and of course, clean it a little bit and do like this and put it in your Word. And, just it's important for you, again, it's important for you to write the title. So let's say for this one, title, and I would say objective number one. I will put it this way. Objective number two. This is two. And I will say objective number three. So I I I I like this kind because I like this kind of way because it is easy for you to produce figures and table that would answer to your question. Let's say, for example, I will say initial. You can make your own actually. So you can say um uh I'll just make it my own right now. So treatment pigs for growth, or different levels of treatment, something like that. Different treatment levels, uh supplements, I would say, to growth, to pig growth. You can make your own, it depends on your paper, but I'm just making it my own right now just to have a sample. So now I will make it as a title, and then there's an objective number one. So like, is there a significant effect of blah blah blah, and then so on and so on. And then once you know the questions already, you kind of producing figures that to be able to answer your questions. Let's say, for example, if this table can answer the question, and then you can just summarize it, get this one and put it in your, like that. And then you can somehow clean it a bit. And then let's say I'm gonna put it to make it more something meaningful. And just cleaning your table, and you can say table one, uh treatment levels, blah blah blah, and so on. I mean, again, you can make your own. You are the author. This is your research, so you should know exactly what you're doing, and you can, just. But usually, you can also clean this table in Excel. I think it's more easy, but usually that's what I do. So it's kind of easy for me this way because it would definitely give you a clear results. Another is, again, for some kind of simple plotting, you can say I'm gonna do like this histogram, see, and then I'm gonna export that here as, I don't like the title because it's redundant, because anyway I have to put a figure caption. So I will just run that, and then save. So let's say hist, and then this one as well. I will just remove that. Again, I have other tutorial for this. What I'm trying to show is how it is done. So box plot, for example. And the third one, let me just make it quick. I'm sorry, I'm so fast, but I think that you can still follow. So yeah, and then I redo that, and then I can say scatter plot. And then once you save everything, you just again go back to your the working directory. So if you don't have the working directory, again, I have another tutorial for that, but just to make you it easy for you, you can say session and set working directory, and then choose directory which folder you want to work. And then I can just copy this article. I already have a lot of here figure. So we saw figure, and I want this one, and then this one. So imagine that you're happy with your figures and tables, and then I will just, because this figure would answer to my objective number two, and I just do that. And let's say, just to make it sure, and then I kind of just uh figure one scatter plot. You can always write this. You can ask AI to improve your writing again. So what I do is usually just to make some kind of a comment. So scatter plot of blah blah blah, and then here you can see box. These things. It's more easy for me because you figure uh figure two and then box plot and then here I would say figure. So this is exactly how you do it. So figure three histogram. And then once you're done with that, you kind of, if you're happy, you can, already start visualizing, making some interpretation and like, okay, feed intake versus blah 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 and so on. So then you can have so this table, let's say this figure shows that feed B has a higher weighting. Now you kind of discuss because you know the story. You are the one who collected data. You did the experiment. I was like, oh, because simply because or because fit B was higher supplement, higher supplement, and just write anything that you observe in your figure, and then you can improve it later. Do not try to be perfect because there's always room for improvement. Actually, you can also do like this. Control is solo, and then so on. Fit A is in the middle. I don't know, something like that. You can just you write whatever you want to write, and then let's go back to my tutorial. So results. So again, write 2 to 3 research questions. You have to produce figures tables to answer your objectives and then start describing results in bullets, which is basically what we just showed earlier. So we produce the figures and we can make some interpretation about it in bullets or in sentences. So you can also have that and then turn bullets into sentences and then polish results. So now if you say, this is my example here. So this is one of my articles. So I can just have the title and how, let's say in this case, I have here written how do elevation driven environmental factors influence blah blah blah, and then I kind of produce the figures that would somehow answer to that objectives. And then after that I just like trying to finish everything, all the figures. Let's say I have to produce 8 figures or let's say one table. So again, I have a tutorial that how to summarize your table and then also your figure and so on and so on. So with that, you're ready for discussion now because you're happy already with your results. The figures are okay, tables are okay, it's clean, it's already form standardized, formatted to according to the journal that we choose. So now let's start with the discussion because you know exactly what was your results. You went to the field, you did the experiments, you know exactly the story, what kind of story that you want to tell to your readers. So first is you have to summarize key findings, compare with existing literature, explain complications, and address limitations, and with concluding insights or recommendations. And that, so let's say you spend so second day for kind of, you know, writing the discussion. So let's say you will say, okay, based on my results, the feed A was this and that, and then maybe because it was higher supplement. But then I found another study that they said when they incorporate this kind of supplement, it did not grow. So now this is the part where you kind of make some kind of argument with what you write. So compare your findings to other existing literature. That's exactly why when you had your proposal, you already show them the research cap, the literature, uh, uh, the that support your research. Why do you need to conduct your studies? So then explain complications. So like you kind of discuss it, how you explain why your results did not differs from other literature, maybe because you had it in other study, different controls, different locations, a different environment. This is where you write this way. And after that, you just address limitation. You can say Unfortunately, because I was only using, let's say, feed A and feed B, so I could have, like mix of feed A and feed B and so on, so on. Then whatever you want to write that you think it is fundamental or relevant to your discussion. And after that, end with concluding insights or recommendations. So I think, so this is what I did. So here I just, like, because I already have the results and I kind of just write the discussion. So it's enough. So here, on the other hand, many say that writing discussion is the hardest part, but for me, it's not. In fact, it becomes easier if you're done your groundwork properly before writing your section. You could have at least read 10 to 15 articles. Basically, you read your paper. So you know that this who wanted out, this did that, and this, and so it's now easy for you to kind of, like connect the story, the dot based on what you have with your results, and then trying to connect that to other uh papers like 10 to 20 papers. Literally you read, I don't know, hundreds or 10, 20 article based on literature reviews. So basically you've done already your work, your assignment, and then it will be easy usually to discuss your results. So, and after that, you kind of just uh, here is the discussion and your day three method sections. Now, why for the third day is you starting with the methods? Why not introduction? Why not this and that? Basically, you what you did already. You know what you have written in your discussion. So now it is easy for you to write the methods. So you kind of, you did this, I did the modeling, I did this, I use Excel, I use GIS, and so on and so on, and then something data analysis. So basically, if you are working with the other journals, so basically other journal, they have this for one, let's say for methodology, they have like three subheadings. So the data sampling or sampling procedure, data collection, data analysis, and so on and so on. So it really depends. And then you know exactly what you did. So basically, materials and methods here, study area, data collection, disturbance history, data analysis. This is kind of it so that it would be easy for you to write the story of your method. So you did this, the collector was collected like this, how the data was collected, and how the data was analyzed. So you can just write this way. So basically, you start with the map, study area, and then you can create like that. And here is okay. Let's just stick to this one, and you can just in our case you can say I use box plot or I did descriptive statistics and then I kind of did the modeling and so on and so on. So I use ANOVA to test blah 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 because you know exactly what you did here. So you can set I had box plot, I had this and that. So it was easy for you to write the story because basically you are the one who analyze your data. So with that, let's now jump to day four. So what is day four? So day four is there where you write your introduction and literature review. But other journal didn't really need require literature review. So your literature will be just incorporated to introduction, and basically some journal they just like in my case I am an editor of the university journal. So basically what I want is I want a straightforward introduction, to talk about what is your research all about and why do you need to do that and why what is the research gap and the novelty of what you're doing it. So basically you're trying to put, you read your 20 articles and then you kind of just write it in one package for your introduction. So let's say I would stick for 5 to 6 paragraph of introduction. I think that should be enough. So this is how I usually write the introduction. So I start with the global or world context. So in the case, I would definitely say, if let's say if I'm working, for example, let me just find another paper so that it will be easy for us to write. So maybe this maybe this one. So here, original manuscript. Let me just check this one. So here, for example, So here, disturbance and species diversity drive bias patterns in a tropical river watershed. So basically, I just write introduction, and like in this case, say start with a global or broad context. So like if your topic is all about forest, where is it here? Oh yeah. So if your topic is all about biomass or disturbance, then basically you can start with triple forest. And then you can have down it to present the specific research gap or problem. Why do you need to conduct your research? And state your objectives or hypothesis, briefly mention your approach or method, and highlight the significance of the studies. So basically, but I think it's like how you incorporate the literature gap here. Like who wanted to do this, and now I wanted to do this because blah 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 and so on and so on. So in my case here, I just write here the scholarship further the ecological study is closely linked to structural attributes. So this is how I connect. That's why I want to look at how forest structure is affecting biomass. So in this case, I'm trying to justify so understanding the impacts of disturbance and forest structure, blah blah blah, and so on. And this is like furthermore, complicating the dynamics of disturbance are the interaction between climatic factors and forest changes and so on. So and with that, I hear in addition, now like kind of justifying more what you're reading, and here hence the study will further blah 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 and so on. So and then the conclusion blah blah blah. And then I just like with this, the research seeks to illuminate the intricate relation between disturbances for structure and the broader implication for river ecosystem. So this is the kind of story that we wanted to tell and why you are doing it. So and that's it. So for your introduction, actually, you're done. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect yet. You can always revise it, revise. That's the crucial part of writing. You keep on revising until you are satisfied. So now you got your results, discussions, you got your methodology, uh, you got everything. Now what will you do? If your introduction, what you do is write your title, abstract, and conclusion. So in that case here, you it was just your writing title, and you can always change that. So in my case here, I have a writing title like this, and then I keep like uh disturbance, blah blah blah, and so on and so on. So I just keep doing that, and then I kind of write the abstract because I know what I did. I just kind of to extract the main information, and you are good to go. And then you can make the conclusions, which make it more simple. So in this case here, I have a very short conclusion actually. So this is my conclusion. So the present study, blah blah blah. I only have one main paragraph because basically in this case I only have two to three objectives. So yes, and you can you know write the acknowledgement and the other contributions and the covering interests and references and so on and so on. So basically, you just have to now it's like now you have to this or D5, and now for these day six, you can uh here I think yeah just revising your title. So now the abstract sentences, the background context, one sentence describing methods, 3 to 5 sentences key results, one sentence in conclusion, and one sentence implications, recognition. Basically, abstract, some journal, the prefer like a very straightforward, let's say 200 words, 150, 300 words. It really depends. That's why it's important for you to check first which journal that you wanted to publish and then try to understand what they want your manuscript to be prepared. So that's exactly how you do it. And here, summarize findings, link findings back to objectives, highlight its significance and implications, mention implementations, offer research directions. This is how I write my conclusion. So in that case here, I have a little bit more longer, I would say, but I think this should be enough for conclusions. So here, the presentation shows blah blah blah, and so on and so on. And then lastly, the integrating means into watershed management will not only strengthen carbon sequestration and climate resilience, but also safeguard water resources and biodiversities, ensuring that both ecological and community needs are met in a sustainable and real manner. So you can always write your own and just make sure that you kind of, like circle it in your own results, not just forget about other results. Focus on your research. So for day six, I would say references and formatting. Now this is how you kind of finalize everything. You're happy with the results, you're happy with the discussion, you're happy with everything that you have written, and now it's time for you to look at the references if it's there or not, because some journal are very strict about it. And if you don't if you let's say you cited here, let's for example this author, and then you find it there is no understand, then some editor they don't like that. So that's why it's important for you to double check everything, that everything you cited are in the references. And then you can up starting to format it, like put a line number and yes, like how it's done and so on. And then try to read your manuscript. And that's for day six. And now for day seven. So here references. So actually, I showed here the references and format. So if you want how do you call it, really, you can also Google like this, Google Scholar. If you think that your references are not that clear, you can actually just type the title of your paper. Let's say that you cited, let's say biomass. I like biomass. Okay. So here, just go. This is if you think this is a paper that you cited, and then what you'd have to do is just click cite, and just you can choose EPA, Chicago, Harvard, and Vancouver. So again, it's important for you to check the journal that you are submitting so that it would be easy for you to follow what you want, and you are good to go. So, and then for day seven, final editing and submission. So again, I don't think one day is enough, but I think what I'm trying to say here is you can spend one day for editing, the grammar, the flow, the spelling. So like how to do something. Also, other journal wants a similarity checker like this turn it in, so you can actually just do that. Depends on the journal, but other journal doesn't really require that. But again, it depends on the journal. That's why first is you need to check. All right, so I think that's all, and I want to end it here, but I hope that you learned something today, like how to do this very ambitious 7-day master writing and Scopus edX. So please check my other videos. It's already here, and I hope that you will be able to learn something today. So here I have here how to find school civics journals. So I have a lot here of tutorials. So from data analysis, data manipulation, data structuring, and how to publish it, and how to do like to make your paper submitted. So now next video is I will try to talk about how to, maybe we will do a workshop on how to submit your paper, and then maybe I could also do something like how to, after 3 months, now there is already a review report, then you're gonna have to work on that, like how to address, how to respond to those reviewers. Yes, some reviewers are very sarcastic, and there's some people are nice, but then some people are you really have, but you have to calm down with that. But let's just end here because that's for another tutorial. So all right, so that's my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you need some help, uh, I'm open for speaking engagements for data analytics and how to publish a paper and how to also review a paper, and also travel inspirations according to 20 cultures. I was living in Europe for almost 7 years, and I also like fitness, and then maybe we can collaborate. So I think that's all. And once again, thank you for watching, and see you for my next video. Okay, so how to choose. What is it?